Very good evening, guys. Welcome to NextGen IT courses. So we have day one class for SOC Analyst. We have our trainer, Mr. Imran sir, with us. Hi, Imran sir. Yeah, hi. So without wasting more time, we can start the session. Over to you, Imran sir.
Okay. Is my voice clear now?
Yes, sir. Perfect now.
All right. Thank you very much. So I was just saying that cybersecurity it's an in-demand field right now, and the organizations are looking for quality SOC analysts. So I would like to start this session by knowing like we have a few of the students joining this particular call. So what is cybersecurity as of you? So guys, I need your active participation so that I can share you all the knowledge which I have, which is required for you to clear the interviews as well as to contribute in the organizations when you join in the field of cybersecurity. And this won't happen if this will be one-way traffic, which we call as uh, so it should not be like if I'm going out and you're not replying or you're not getting engaged into the sessions. So at the end of the session, you will think, okay, what happened? Nothing happened, right? Somebody was saying anything and I was just listening to it. It won't make you learn, right? So if you will get engaged, then you'll ask the questions, and that's the way to learn cybersecurity when you discuss the things, right? When you speak openly about what you know, what you think about it, and then only I'll be able to correct you in the way that you when you're going to present yourself in interviews, then that confidence will be with you. So right. So what is cybersecurity? Anyone?
Mainly, it's used for uh, securing the firewalls,
Okay.
unknown
Uh,
unknown authentication,
okay.
uh, and it is used for the vulnerability process.
Okay. Karthikeyan, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Karthikeyan. Anyone else?
Basically, cybersecurity is totally responsible to preventing the threat prevention, we can say. Either it be network devices or it could be possible to apply in software attacks to the attackers, if I am not wrong.
Right, Anuj. You have covered
Yes.
one part of cybersecurity, of course. Anyone else? Right. So I'll tell you in a holistic view what cybersecurity does, right? So when we go into so if you are setting up, suppose Anuj is setting up an organization, right? He's setting up a manufacturing industry or a medical industry. He wants to make medicines or he wants to manufacture something, right? Suppose phones. So he's starting his brand and he has a full-fledged company working professionals, maybe like 50,000 professionals working, and it's an MNC. So what they are most afraid of? So they are afraid of their data getting leaked online, their servers getting hacked, their financial servers getting hacked, right? And their reputation getting damaged. So once a cyber attack happens, it damages the reputation of the big organization. So even if big organizations have big money, it does not mean they are not afraid of the cyber attack. So every organization which is there in the market is afraid of cyber attacks happening. So what does cybersecurity is? It's a practice of protecting the systems. With the systems, you mean like anything which is there in the system also. If we say networks and the data and the information, you can say from digital attacks. That's what cybersecurity does. So these attacks mainly what they focus on. What's their aim? Is it their aims is to get the hold of the sensitive information, accessing them, exfiltrate them, getting the hold of the privileged accounts, interrupting the business operations. So that's one part of it, right? Firewall. I think Karthik or somebody else told firewall. Why we need firewall? Why we need WAFs? Right? So what they do is right now you might have heard of the term ransomware attacks. That's what is going out in the wild. What attacker does is he starts with the initial vector and then goes out in the form of following the MITRE attacks, maybe following few of the tactics out of it and getting hold of the things which are there in the organization. And what they do is they just encrypt the servers, leaves a note there. The note says, okay, so encrypts with their encryption key, and then leaves a note out there. Okay, when the business or an administrator looks at that note, it says, okay, send me these Bitcoin, and then I'll tell you the key to to unencrypt the files on that particular machine, so that. And also at the same time, what they do is they delete the backups also. So it's an advanced level of attacks which are happening at the same time. I'll give you a real time scenario. Sometime back, Elon Musk was getting interviewed uh, on in Twitter, I guess. So what attacker did was they was just sending the denial of service attacks, but eventually Twitter was able to protect it because they were already anticipating that attack coming. How they did it, how they prevented it. So these are some questions I would say that we'll be focusing on throughout this course, which will cover the networks part, the SOC part, and SOC as an L1. What's SOC L1 does, what SOC L2 does, 3L3 does, what is threat hunting, what is incident response, what the SOC manager role is, and then eventually moving to the Palo Alto firewall. So how you can defend it as a preventive measure. So anybody who can tell me what a SIM does? Just an overview. I'll not get into the depth of the SIM as of now. We'll be starting with the network fundamentals. So anybody knows what a SIM does? What is SIM? Okay, I'll answer this question. SIM is a security information and event management. So if, as the name suggests, you get the events from your data sources. We call it as log sources as well. So all the log sources, what are log sources? So anything, any servers, firewalls, Z's, the proxies, then the antivirus, XDRs, or CyberArks and PAM solutions. So anything which is there in your environment, that's a log source from which you get the logs into the SIM. And you create the correlation rules on the SIM to detect a type of attack, right? How it happens, and then you place a logic around it. And once that logic is met with the logs which are getting generated, so it correlates the log among multiple log sources, and you get the offenses triggered on your screen. So that is what the L1 does, right? It watches the screen, it monitors the SIM console. Once he gets an alert on his screen, then he wants to make sure that if it is a false positive or a true positive. So these are the scenarios. So I may be running very fast, but don't worry, we'll cover all these things from very basic. So getting back to the question, what is the key focus of security? So security, okay, one part is we as a cyber responder, we protect the organization and maintain the confidentiality, integrity, availability part as well. But at the same time, our main goal is to enable organizations. So the organization which we are working for, so that they can achieve a goal or the objective. Suppose like if somebody is setting up the organization and they hire a cybersecurity team or cybersecurity SOC analyst, right? What their role is, that guy will guide them to achieve their business securely, so that no cyber attacks can happen on their organization. So, or you can say up to an extent where a residual risk which remains. So, residual risk is what is residual risk? Okay. So when we talk about risk, yeah, so risk means that you have a vulnerability or you have an exposure which can be exploited by the threat actor, and that's the risk. So when we have a total risk and we put on a firewall, which is a preventive measure. So if we have a total risk minus the preventive measure, then we are still left with some of the risk, because you are never risk free in security. Even if you put 100 of the controls, you are not safe. So that's the residual risk which remains after putting up the controls, right? So I think you are following me, right? If you have any questions, please ask. So, or I'll continue then.
Continue, sir.
Right, thank you. So in SOC roles, what is the hierarchy in SOC roles, right? So we have level 1 SOC analyst. These are the L1s, which monitor the alerts, as I told, from SIEM. They escalates the incidents to L2s, right? So why we need L1s, right? We have the incident triggering on a SIEM console. SOC analyst is just transferring it to SOC L2. So it used to happen, I would say, like 5, 6 years ago, but now organizations are looking more with the AI coming in. So SOC analysts as L1 should work more just like not like just checking the IOCs, the reputations over the open source intelligence tools, which we'll be covering again. We'll cover again during these sessions when we'll go into the SOC analyst module. And then what responsibility of SOC L1 is to initially triage that incident and see if that's a potentially true positive or a false positive incident. So if it is a false positive, so false positive means wrongly identified, right? True positive means rightly identified. So if you have an event means an alert on your console. So as in the SIEM. So L1 has to triage that incident means he has to investigate the incident and then has to make sure that okay, this is a false positive or a true positive. If it is a potentially true positive, then we call it as an incident, and then it transfers the incident to the L2s where the L2s do performs the L2 level investigation to that particular incident and again correlates and hunt for the threads again, matching those patterns or those the IOCs which are there, what type of tactics that attacker might be following that L2 does, and then it escalates to the L3 also. And when it goes to L3, then that's a senior analyst role. So every organizations have different designations. So some say senior analyst, some say specialist, some says assistant managers. But levels remain same. Level 1, level 2, level 3, SOC analyst. SOC L3 works as SOC L3 and also works in the proactive measures for improving the detections, placing the Sigma rules, Yara rules, threat hunting. So that is all we'll be covering. So I'm just giving you a broader way what we'll be covering through this particular course. And also what is the role of an incident responder, right? What frameworks does organizations follows during for the incident response? So their main aim is to contain and recover from the cyber attacks, if I'll talk about from the broader view. But again, this has a complete life, the complete cycle, which we call our incident response plan. Most of the companies are following from the NIST, right? uh, Again, the SOC incident responder have to work on an incident, contain it, then recover it, then the lessons learned. So it's a complete incident response plan, and then find the root cause analysis. What is root cause analysis? Anyone?
To finding the troubleshoot the fault.
Exactly. So fault as in if we are talking about from the networks or the firewalls or any device point of view where the engineering team is working, then we call it as a okay, we have to find a fault. Where was the fault? Okay, why our services went down? Why VPN went down? Was there a policy lag or was there a link issue? So that's a term of a from an engineering point of view. If we talk about SOC analyst or incident responder, so their main aim is for the root cause analysis to find how the attacker was able to get in, right? What was the initial vector? Are we still secure or not? Right? So that is what they perform in the remediations part and covering the complete landscape. So from landscape, I mean the complete architecture, what a organization follows, right? The data centers they have in multiple locations. So they have the endpoints, right? Maybe you have secured your environment, but one person in your company gets an email, clicks on an email, gets a backdoor created for the attacker gets hold of the system, and then starts the lateral movement, gets hold to the highly privileged ID, and then perform whatever he wants to do. So that's the attack scenario which we'll be going to cover. So common attack scenarios which you can present during your interviews as well. So showcase them that you have a real time knowledge. So these will there will be separate discussions about the cyber attack. So throughout this course when I'll be delivering, I'll be telling you about the cyber attacks along with the concepts which I'll be explaining. So if you guys are not keeping the handbook handy. So I would advise you to keep it alongside you, the notebooks, and you note down the special things. So you can study from the internet, right? That's not an issue. But when I'll be telling you something, please note it down, because I'll bring some reality into it, and that is what the interviews are looking for, right? When you give the right examples. So when you are going by the book, that is fine. One part of it is done. But I have seen interviews where they ask, "Don't tell me the book language, just give me the real examples." So that is what they are suspecting, because people are coming in by just mugging a few of the definitions and just telling the interview, "Okay, I have worked for 2 3 years for this company, and this is what I have done. I know this thing." Or they ask one question, and uh, the candidate's answers with the book language, right? Or if about SOC security, okay, security uh, is a health business, and we protect the business and make them achieve the goals and objectives by and securing the confidentiality, integrity, and availability part. So that's one part of it. So as a holistic view, if you go and tell them, okay, cyber SOC analyst from SOC team is a center team for all the security teams, if I would say. So we have many teams here, right? The network security, the endpoint security, then you have the vulnerability detection and response team, then you have the DLP team. If you go in, then you have the threat hunting team, then so many teams. So if you go the auditing team, the law team, which are looking for the compliance purposes and well as well. So red team. So if you are talking about especially the blue team or the defenders, they are sitting in the bottom and they are getting the logs from everywhere. They are just correlating. They are in sync with everyone. And same parallel to that, the incident response team works. Whenever there is an incident, they starts their response and make to neutralize that particular incident. So we'll be covering all these things during this particular session. So I'll just share my screen, and we'll be just starting with the network fundamentals. So I'm sharing my screen, and at the same time, what I'll do is I'll open in the middle, I'll open a whiteboard and try explaining you with more examples. So once you're able to see my screen, please let me know. So before starting, anybody has any questions?
One thing I would like to ask, like, where do you place network security as compared to SOC engineer or
So your voice is a bit low for me. Can you please speak a bit louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but a bit louder would be appreciated. Yes, please tell.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very much fine.
Thank you. Just wanted to check, like, where do you place network security when we, as compared to a SOC engineer or the SOC team? Because, for example, like if the SOC engineer, like, it's a first line of defense when we talk about, the attacks or providing an RCA or to secure the organization or to secure the network.
Right. So
So,
your question, yeah, please.
so how do we place for a network security engineer? I mean, how do we compare a network security engineer who basically works on the firewalls?
Right. So answer to your question is, firewall team manages the parameter, right? So parameter we say as a border. So if we talk about a country, right? So you can say like the army which is protecting your border is a firewall, right? So you have a border device which is a firewall, and you have multiple devices as well, like WAFs, web application firewalls. You have proxy for the outbound web traffic. So if we
Right.
specifically talk about firewalls, they are working on layer 3, they're working on layer 4, layer 7.
Correct.
They are providing you with the inspections, but that mostly protects the perimeter, right? Perimeter means the border of the organization. So I'll just share my screen to clear the doubt for everyone here. I'll just share my whiteboard again. So what is a border? So anybody who is getting confused, I'll just clear out that thing. 1 second, please. So you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
All right. So let's build a architecture for an organizations on the basis of network. How do they configure the network and what they do? So we'll get in the granular details during this network fundamentals when we'll start. But as in what is a border? So I'll just start it. If you say like, okay, one company, ABC company is there, they have three data centers, right? Suppose there are three data centers, one in Boston, maybe, another in, maybe you can say Africa, anywhere you can say, okay, one in India. So yes, I'm sharing my screen. Anyway, asking the question, Karthikeyan. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Oh, so Karthikeyan is not able to see my screen. I'm not sure why.
The screen is visible, sir.
Okay, okay. Then Karthikeyan, you have to fix the issue from your end. There's no issue from here. So okay. So we say this is data center one. Okay. Then you have data center two. Then you have data center three. Right. So this would be in US. Then you have this in Africa, and you have this in India. So this is what real time example I'm giving you. Why? Because okay, somebody asked you what is network architecture. Have you seen any network drawing? Because when network security guys start working, first they see is this architecture, right? What's the organization? Where we have the data centers? How they're connected to each other? How our VPN flow is going on? Okay, I would request you not to change. Yeah, I think somebody is playing with this board. So guys, please put your cursor down when I'm writing on the board.
I think Imran, you should have a control. I mean, no one can control your
Yeah, I
screen.
think I have to place it. 1 second. Well, I'll fix it afterwards. Uh so guys, okay. So I think 1 second. Really, like, so again, DC1. I'm not sure why it is not working. I'll just share my paint on my screen and then show this here. That nobody has control over it.
If you have like paint in your system, we can use.
Yeah, I'm just opening that only. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone. This is
Yes, yes.
okay. So you call it as, so this is, again, I'm drawing, so data center one, and we have this data center two. Uh, they have data center three. So so what do we think? So what is data center? So if we say we have, this is in USA and we have a office in data center. So I have office in US. which is connected to this data center. So we have all our servers, critical servers in the data center. So anybody who wants to access it is sitting behind. Here is our LAN. So this is the office. If I say LAN, it's a local area network. I'll get to this. What is LAN? So people are sitting here. They want to access something internally. They have servers here. Maybe the finance team wants to access the finance servers. SAP team wants to access SAP servers. Similarly, any team who is working from the office, they want to access the server. So this is this we say the data center. So this is our secure zone, right? We don't expose this over the internet. So what do we expose over the internet? Suppose this is a company where we have this uh, any website hosted over the internet. So what we do is we have a DMZ here, right? So we call it as demilitarized zone. So I'll get back to that question pretty quickly. What is the role of the firewall? So we have this data center 2, same setup. We have a DMZ here, and the same setup for data center 3. We have a DMZ here. So DMZ, if anybody wants to talk from data center to DMZ, we have a firewall here. So this is one of the setup. It is not always the same. So I'll repeat, this is one of the setup which is there for the organizations, but it is not the way like every organization has to set up their architecture like this. Sorry. So if data center wants to talk to this DMZ, so you have one firewall here. Here you allow the traffic, whatever traffic you want this data center to reach out to DMZ, you allow it here. Otherwise, you block the traffic, right? But what if this office users wants to go to the internet? How would they do it? So once they want to go to internet, okay, you have a data center, they're coming in, and we have another firewall set up here, or we can use this same firewall, another link connected to the internet. Right. So this is what a firewall does, right? I hope I've answered your question. So it manages the traffic to and from the organization, blocks the traffic, allows the traffic, and then there are multiple blades which are enabled in these firewalls, which can help you with the protections or enhance the protection for your organization. So it protects you from the border. So if I'm talking about the border, you are at the border. So right. So this is what the border means. Right. Any server which are there that sits here, that is what we are protecting from the firewalls. So many companies have big architecture where they are using internal firewalls as well, because they don't want, okay, suppose an organization which is having department A and department B, they don't want them to talk to each other for XYZ reason. Suppose this is the place where they have the servers, and they have two organizations. They want this A to access these servers, but they don't want B to access the servers. So what they do is they just place a firewall here. Anybody who's coming to A, allowed. Okay, you go and access the servers. Anybody coming from the B, no, you are not allowed. So this is what firewall does. It protects you from the perimeter side, but again, if you are using it internally for the segregations of the VLANs or the departments, I would say from a broad perspective, so you can use the firewalls. I hope I answered your question, right?
So just to confirm again, like the SOC engineer usually takes care of the servers which are placed in data center, or like if they have
No,
any
it's a one part of it. So
one
what
part of
SOC team does, yeah, it's one part. So we are not only protecting the servers when we talk about SOC. So it is a security operations center. So anything, any component, any server, any endpoint, I mean the laptops which users use, servers which are there in the data centers, right? They are critical. They are database SQL servers. So if you talk about database, Oracle servers, SAP servers, and then you have the application servers, right? Many, so anything which you are hosting upon file servers. So you have critical data over there. Yes, the SOC team monitors the traffic for the servers. If there is any anomaly detected on the servers, because they are the most critical part of any organizations, because attackers' main motive when they get in, it's not to get hold of a laptop. Yes, they can do one thing. If they compromise one laptop, fine. They can just exfiltrate the data for that particular user. or encrypt that particular machine. It won't cause a big damage to an organization, but if they are able to encrypt the servers in the data center, that's the big issue, right? But again, the point initial vector starts, you don't know where it will start, so you have to protect the endpoints, the laptops, the computer systems of the end users. So end users, what is end user? Anyone?
Like the machines,
Customer.
laptops, or
Customer is the end user.
Sorry.
Customer is the end user.
So
L-
we say customer is
uh,
the end user, but which customer? So when we are talking about
See,
SOC, and the SOC manager will be also coordinating with the SOC manager of the customer. So that's also a customer for us. So when I'm
and
talking about end user, okay, from a very layman sort of thing, I'll explain. So suppose you are providing services, security services to a bank, right? So many people who are coming into the bank, like the cashier, right? Anybody who is working for the credit loan department. So these, the people working in those departments are the end users who are using their laptops, taking their laptops to their home, connecting from their home to their respective banks, right? So that's a security, that's a responsibility of the security team for maintaining the enablement of the connectivity for them, so that business could run, right? So many users, end users. So at the time of COVID, right? uh, I think I'm talking about 2020, around 2020. uh, so work from home model started, right? And that was the biggest problem for the SOC team, right? If I'm talking about the SOC team, then I'm referring to the central team and as well as for the network teams, right? When they had to configure the remote access VPNs for the users, at the same time they have to maintain the security, enable the business, maintain the security. That's the part what SOC does. So what SOC does is it gets the log from firewall, right? It gets the logs from, suppose, proxy, get the logs from the laptops in the form of the antivirus or the XDR or EDR solutions which are deployed. They get the logs from the PAM solutions. They get the logs from the servers. They get the logs from everywhere, which is from the networks, the switches, the routers, and every component which is there, the WAFs, the application servers. So anything which is there in the environment has to be safe. And we are just talking about the on-premise right now. So if you talk about the SaaS solutions, right, software as a service, you have Office 365 integrated with your SOC. You have AWS EC instances integrated. You have CloudTrails Event Hub subscriptions coming in from the Azure side. You have GCP WAFs. You have IBM WAFs. Many things. Right. So anything which we are hosting on the cloud side also, that is also integrated with the SOC. Right. When we talk about SOC, it's a complete holistic, it gives you a complete holistic view of from the organizations, any particular tool which you're using, any endpoints, any servers, you're getting logs from everywhere, right? At the same time, SOC engineering team is performing the logs integrations and creating the correlation of the use cases, which works on the correlation of the logs coming in from the different devices. And then on the basis of that, they set a logic. We'll cover all these things, so please don't worry what they do, how they do. We'll cover everything. So they set up a logic. So logic, which I mean from the very layman language. Okay, suppose the log is coming from a server, right? So you define a logic. Okay, when an event is coming from a server and it says okay, if we talk about brute force login, so if we says 4625 event ID, and suppose like it is coming for the same server, and so suppose five failed attempts, I want that alert to trigger, and I want to see who is attempting again and again to that particular critical server. So I'll place a logic if any log coming from the server and the event ID matches 4625 five times in 1 minute, then you trigger an event. So that's a very basic example of how our logic is written in a SIM, right? Again, from the firewall side, if we are ingesting all the logs, if I see any traffic going out to a malicious IP from any of my machine, I want that alert to trigger. It triggers in the SIM, and the SOC analyst looks into it. He investigates. He checks if that IP is malicious or not, any other communications happening from that end user. So that is the mindset, I would say, you guys have to get into when we'll be going through these sessions. Right? So from SOC, you cannot think, okay, I'm a firewall administrator. Okay, no, you're not. You are a SOC analyst. You have to consider the organization. You have to see. You have to know about every critical component which is there in your organization. If we talk about AD servers, right? So you have the LDAPs, how they work, how does Kerberos authentication work? If you don't know that, how would you investigate the alert? Right? What is a silver ticket attack, a golden ticket attack, right? What is a DDoS, right? And when we get into the layer two, what is op poisoning, right? Op spoofing, MAC spoofing. So all these things um, will be covering out. And I'll again stop sharing my screen once again. Any questions from this?
Yeah, yeah, quick one. So what I understood, so SOC is considered as it's like monitoring the complete infrastructure, right?
All right. So if we talk about SOC L1, yes, you are right. So yes, SOC is the monitoring team from L1 perspective. But when you switch to L2s, they are advanced level of analytics involved. Then you switch to level 3. So when you get an incident, suppose L1, okay, monitors it, performs a basic analysis, transfer it to L2, then L2 gets the depth of the investigation. How they do it, we'll cover all these things. Then once they are pretty much sure that it can be a potentially a true positive incident, they transfer it to L3, where L3 again from his intelligence starts investigating the incident, and boom, once he finds out that's a true positive incident, he engages the incident response team. And in many organizations, these L3s are only performing the incident response role. They initiate their plan, they start the bridge, get the call, the teams on the call, handles the situation and calm and contain that particular situation, and then follows with the recovery and the remediation part. And the lessons learned will be covering all these things when we're covering the incident response. And also L3s at the same time can also work as a threat hunter, which proactively hunt for the threats. So it is not like a firewall where you see actual connection going on and you see, okay, this is a threat to my environment, or this is a potential risk. You can identify from the logs. But here, the threat hunting team, what they do is they look up for a data source, they look up for the XDRs, anything which is set up for the persistence or the backdoors. Uh, Anything which is executed in like 1 or 2 days, if they perform a regular threat hunting, proactively getting the threats and removing it from the organization's machines, so that it won't create any cause of issue in the future. So that is what the hierarchy is. So this is how they work. Right?
SOC is also considered as a GRC.
So GRC is a governance risk compliance. So that is, you cannot say SOC is a GRC. That's a separate team when we talk about GRC, and that's
What is
a
the difference between GRC and SOC?
right. That's a governance risk compliance. So that's a different team who only works for the from the governance side. Governance means how we want to run the SOC, right? And what are the risks? They maintain the risk registers. What are the risks in our environment? And at the same time, they have to maintain the compliance as per the laws your organization belong to. If we talk about the organization is from the European side, they follow the GDPR. So is it being followed in our organization or not? So that is what the role of the GRC team is.
Okay, they're not responsible for technical stuff, right?
They are, but they are mostly from the guidance product point of view, and the teams who are sitting at the back. Okay, so suppose as per law, you should have an encryption, and you want to have an AES encryption. So what they do is they instruct the servers team to have that encryption for their servers. How they should set up that is that the guidelines they can provide, and they can assist them on the calls, but they don't do the things, right? But every organization follows separate path. Maybe some organizations are following where they are asking them to do it, but most of the time they are just the the ones who are looking up for from the broader point of view, the governance side. Governance people usually sits at the top. So if we talk about a CISO, so anybody who knows who is a CISO,
Yeah.
right? Please tell.
CISO is it's like a chief information security officer. Those are responsible for the complete end-to-end security stuff. Let's say GRC and SOC. Those
Right.
everyone is reporting to the CISO.
Right. That's the point.
Yeah.
So CISO has its own GRC team, which is looking up for his governance, risk, and compliance, right? And they are looking if that is the same thing which is following up in the organizations which he is being responsible for. So anything goes wrong, right? Anything goes wrong, GRC team is to be blamed, okay, because they are responsible for implementing and maintaining the GRC for these organizations, but who is accountable, right? Anybody? So and nobody will come and ask the question to this GRC team. Everybody will ask the question to CISO, okay, why it went wrong. So any teams, so all the security teams, network security, SOC, threat hunting, VMDR, audit, uh, all the teams comes under CISO, but again, organizations varies. You have CIOs as well handling all these things, but mostly Chief Information Security Officer. And the right part to get to this position is to get hold of maximum domains in security, because if you have to manage multiple domains, then you have to know what they are doing, right? So that nobody comes and fools you up. So that is what the organizations are looking for. Bigger organizations are having more than one CISO, but mostly they have one senior CISOs and the junior CISOs also.
Okay, one quick one.
Right.
So let's say we talk about SOC and GRC. So if we consider for a SOC as a career, so what tool do you suggest to have to go with this for a certain? I mean, for a maybe for a training purpose or hands-on purpose, what tool we can use it in SOC or
So
organization?
that's a good question, and thank you for bringing up in the first session only, because I would have come to this question. Many people who are working in SOC, right, they are more focused about the tools, but as I said, as a SOC analyst or a SOC analyst 1, 2, 3 or a SOC manager, more than a tool, one should focus on the technologies which are there in the organization. So, okay, you might be using Splunk, right? You might be using QRadar as a SIEM. You might be using Sentinel. You might be using any other tool, ArcSight. If you say Exabeam, logarithm. So, any tool you might be using,
Policy.
right? So, so Qualys has a VMDR solutions or any other solutions, vulnerability management. Uh, that is one part of it. Okay. So when you go for an interview, okay, you are being interviewed for Qualys. Okay. Okay, but let's not talk about VMDR as a vulnerability management as of now. Let's focus on SOC. So if we talk about SOC, well, people come and okay, I have knowledge on QRadar, I have knowledge on Microsoft Sentinel, but the SOC analyst focuses on the payload. What is a payload? That's a log. If analyst gets the mindset to read the log, tool it does not matter for him, right? So when you understand one of these same tools, right, you get the hold of all the same tools. The functionality may vary, right, but the end result is same. You integrate the log sources to them, you get an alert created. As an SOC analyst, you have to get this to attend this alert, right? And as an L1, and then you start with the investigations. But what about the log sources, right? You have the ADs, you have the DNS, you have the databases, you have the servers, you have firewalls, you have your proxies, you have XDRs, CDRs, everything which is integrated here. That's the goal. That is what should be understood by a SOC analyst, more than this particular tool. Yes, for your resume, your CV, it looks good. You have exposure of 2, 3, maybe 4 of the same tools, but that does not matter. Or maybe 1 or 2 questions asked for this particular tool, and I don't remember when I asked that question, which tool you work upon while interviewing for the SOC analyst. Okay, if you are specifically talking about firewalls, Again, if you have the knowledge of the technology, what firewall does, how does it do, what is the level 7 inspection, so how firewalls operates on layer 7, right? The tools will vary. Again, checkpoint firewall, FortiGate, Palo Alto firewalls. You get into the vendors, but the end result remains the same. So as a SOC analyst, more of a focus from the tool side, one should focus on how to analyze this alert, right? So when you start investigating the alert, you must have the knowledge for all the components which are there in your environment, not just specific to this tool, because this tool will do nothing for you if you'll not be having the knowledge of the different components in your architecture in your organization. So suppose you have an alert trigger here. What you can do, as an analyst, you should know how to place a query. Okay? But what to query for? That is what your mindset will bring in. Right? How would you say that it's a potentially true positive incident? That you have to analyze. Okay, for analyze, you want to place a query, you can place a query of any of these tools. That is not much difficult, and anybody can learn within 5-10 minutes, or somebody during the KT session will tell you this thing. But what if you are an L3 and somebody comes up to you, okay, this is an incident, you won't use these tools again now. You might use it for another search, or you can ask your juniors to do it for you, but you won't be doing it. So you will be considering, okay, what is this? How can I correlate with the other log sources? What else I can check in my environment? Because every component in your environment is sending logs to your SIEM. You cannot go to anybody and ask for the logs. You have to search it here only. So for that, you only have to know about how to place a search query, right? So more from a mindset, a SOC analyst should focus on the investigation, how to investigate what potential damage it could bring to my organization. And at the same time, you need to know the how to place the queries, how to see, okay, if you are working as an L2, they look up for the log sources, or how, and that's one single click, you see the log source integrated, what was the last timestamp, are they working fine, how to place the reports, but most from the engineering point of view. So from for SIEM, we have SOC team, and one we have is an engineering team. So engineering team, yes, they do focus on the tool because they have to do the technical stuff on this particular tool. So for the SOC team to work properly, so this is the team which is bringing all the logs for you, and this is a team who is placing those logic use case on your SIEM. But this is the team, SOC team, who is working on those alerts which are triggering. And at the same time, when you move to L2s and L3s, you also have to advise the detection engineering team what logics you want, what new attacks are going around in the in the wild. For that, you want the use cases. L2 teams get engaged with the client on the calls. During the investigation, you won't find the engineering team be part of it. The SOC guys will be the part of that particular call, along with the incident response team.
So the SOC team is only responsible for analyzing the logs and are also responsible for troubleshooting.
No, troubleshooting goes by the engineering team. SOC team performs the
So
investigation.
when you say the engineering team, who does the same kind of troubleshooting? What does it mean, engineering team? What
Okay,
exactly they
so
do?
we say this is the same engineering team. Okay, so suppose you have
Network
a
engineering teams, right? Knock.
no, no. It's going around. So knock. Okay, you have a router here. Maybe you have few switches also in your organization. So you have integrated those with your SIEM. Who integrates these things with your SIEM? This SIEM engineering team works with your NOC team and bring those logs into SIEM. That is what correlated here on the use cases. When an alert trigger, suppose a MAC spoofing attack is happening, this team, SOC team, looks up that alert, investigates it, and provides their recommendation what to be done, what to block, what to be not done, what was done. So everything what is coming through the logs, this SOC team performs the investigation upon. So the NOC team is responsible for maintaining their switches and routers. They are not part of SOC. They are not part of SIEM engineering team. SIEM engineering team, okay, customer comes up and tells, okay, I have a new firewall. I want to integrate that firewall with my SIEM. So they sends out a request. This SIEM engineering team gets the request. They check the feasibility to integrate that particular firewall with the SIEM. What they do is they reaches out to the network administrator, firewall administrator, I would say. Firewall administrator, they guide, okay, I want that on syslog, UDP 514, configure syslog. They give the SOP to them, they configure it. Then if there is any firewall in between which is stopping the traffic, or if it is coming via VPN, then you have to allow the traffic on multiple firewalls which are there in the between. That is to be taken care of by another network administrator team. But this team is still not responsible for that because they have given their SOP to them to integrate this particular firewall. Once they guide them and they forward the logs, this team work is completed. Now what? Now you have the logs in the SIEM, right? Any malicious thing which is found on this particular firewall for the inbound or the outbound traffic, you get an alert here. Which team comes into play? SOC, right? From here you start the investigation. So I hope I answered your question. What is the difference between a SOC team and the SIEM engineering team?
Yeah. So engineering team I find, but engineering team is restricted for only for the knock, or it is, let's say, we have SOC and we get a certain alert, something is missing or something is fishy, or I mean, how do I say that? So there is a certain dependency on the Active Directory side, or maybe some DNS side. So it's not only restricted to network, right? There could be a certain reason for the AD side or DNS side, or anything which is uh, uh, bonding, or I mean blocking something. So that is the right understanding. It's not specific for network. It is depend upon the alert.
Right, I'll answer your question. I think you're getting confused here. I'll answer. Okay, suppose we have only these things we have. Okay, right? Proxy. Okay. So here we have our SIEM. Right. Then so customer comes up and tells you, okay, I have a new AD and DNS, because most of the times AD and DNS are set up on the same server. So they comes up with a request, okay, I want to integrate my AD and DNS to your SIEM, to the SIEM, and again, I have one firewall and a proxy, right? These are maintained by the firewall network administrator, I would say, right? And these are maintained by the AD team, you could say, right? So that's a separate team which is managing the AD. We are not managing the AD. As a SOC team, you are not managing the AD. Right? So you have two teams, right? One is the SOC team here, and then you have a SIEM engineering team. We don't call them as a SOC engineering team, right? So customer comes up and asks, okay, I want my AD and DNS logs in SIEM. I need your help, right? First team gets active is the SIEM engineering team. They get the requirement, they see what server it is, how we can fetch the logs. Okay, if I specifically talk about one of the tool, QRadar, right? Let's talk about it. So what they do is they will prepare the SOP, which is a standard operating procedure. They will say, okay, I will fetch the logs. What you do is you install one WinCollect agent in your AD server. From that, I'll be getting the DNS application logs and also the AD logs, the security logs from AD, right? So once they give that SOP to this AD team, they will install that agent, and in that SOP it is mentioned to which EP. So we have, if we talk about SIEM architecture, you have the event processors also. So they will forward. So from a broader perspective, I'm telling you, because this is mostly the part of the SIEM engineers and the architectures, which so not relevant to the SOC team mostly, but still. So they forward this, they install a WinCollect agent. So that agent will sit on this server and will send the AD and the DNS logs to this EP. This EP will forward the logs to your SIEM console, right? First out, right? This is the responsibility of the AD team, but they did the integration with the help of the SOP provided by the SIEM engineering team, right? So now customer says, okay, I want my firewall logs as well. So that network administrator team is managing these firewalls and the proxy. Again, same engineering team looks up for the requirement, helps them set up. They again sends and coordinates with the network administrator team. The network administrator team makes changes on their firewall, their proxy, sends the log again to the SIEM, right? So now you have the core. So we have to make. So now we have all the logs. What will we do with the logs if we don't create the correlation use cases here? So you have to write as the correlation use cases. Just I told you, if we have a server, if there is a brute force login attempted on this server, suppose in AD server, we want an alert to trigger. Suppose anybody from the outside is trying to get into AD and logging in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth time. I have placed a logic here. If anybody logs in 5 times, right, in 5 minutes to my AD server, I want an alert on my SIEM. Suppose somebody has tried to log in and he was not able to be successful, and it was a failure login attempt. So 5 times in 5 minutes, alert will trigger on the SIEM. So now SOC team comes into play, right? They start investigation on this alert, which has triggered. Okay, what was the source IP, right? What was the username, right? Where it was coming from. So now you got the source IP. Okay, let me place a query on my SIEM and see where is the source IP. Okay, you have placed a query as a SOC analyst, and you see, okay, some of the logs I see on the firewall from this source IP. What was the log about? Okay, I see HTTP connection getting out to some xyz.com, and that's a malicious domain, right? What should I do? Let's check the reputation of this particular domain. Checked it. Okay, that's an malicious site. Maybe a backdoor channel setup. Okay, what's else with the source IP? What is that source IP belongs to? Is it from my environment? Is it from the outside network? Okay, I see few more connections from this source IP trying to reach out to my maybe the DNS. DNS, it wants that. So suppose the source IP is from the inside, and a laptop machine trying to query for the uh, URLs, and you see the connections coming from the DNS. Okay, I see that there is a response coming back, and then the machine was able to connect to this xyz.com. Right now, I see, okay, something is wrong. Let's check this source IP. What machine is it? I see, okay, this is an endpoint which tried logging into AD. Maybe the attacker has got hold of this particular laptop already. Okay, and at the same time, he queried for few of the queries which he was able to resolve and get out from the network using the firewall. So you see the things, right? Are you with me, right? So you see from one single alert, how many things can happen? Who performed these investigations? SOC team. So now I hope I have answered your question, and you would be able to differentiate between a SOC team and a SIEM engineering team and a NOC team and the AD teams and the other teams which manages their components in the object. Any questions related to this?
So Imran, in this particular course, like what all topics you are going to cover? I mean, are you going to cover like all the well-known threats and how to mitigate those, or like just wanted to understand what all things you are going to cover in this in this course?
So starting off, we'll be starting with the network fundamentals, right? We should have started today, but there were many questions coming in. But it's good way to have an understanding by SOC, what is the role of SOC team, SIEM engineering team, and the other teams which we have in our environment. So we'll be starting with the network fundamentals. Then at the same time, we'll be covering the cyber attacks which are happening, right? And then we'll eventually switch to the SOC L1 complete full-fledged training, how to analyze if an alert comes. So we'll cover different scenarios using the lab setup, and we'll be covering the SOC L2, how SOC L2 investigates a particular alert when they get it, what is their role in the organizations, and at the same time, when we switch to the L3, we'll be start learning about how to do the threat hunting, again from the lab perspective and the reading of the logs, and at the same time we'll be covering of the few of the SOC SIEM tools. I think one of you have asked the question, what is the role? So maybe the SOC team should know about the tool. Yes, they should know about the tool, but it is not only about the tool. So we'll be covering all these tools, and getting into the depth, we'll be covering the cryptography, some of the compliance, which will cover the GRC part as well. We'll be covering what is the difference between the blue team and the red team, how red team operates. Then how, if we talk about the web attacks, then we'll be covering the OWASP complete set, the top 10 vulnerabilities which are there for the exploitation. So all these things, so when we talk about the firewall architectures, then we'll be switching out of what the packet filtering firewall is, dual homed host architectures, screen host architectures. So all these things we'll be covering, and few of the IAM solutions as well. Because as I said, SOC team should know everything about their organization. So if an analyst who only bothers about the alert coming in and okay, doing a basic analysis, just checking this IP reputation and just sending it to the L2s. Okay, sorry, organizations are not looking for the SOC analyst performing this way.
And just to confirm, like for the practicals, like how you gonna perform the practicals? Is that for the all well-known threats, how to how to attack or and how to mitigate those and on do I mean are you
So
going
mostly
to use
SOC team is a defender
EVNG?
in the defender role,
Okay.
but we'll be covering the attack scenarios also, how red team attacks, and as a SOC team how they defend, basis on
So how are we
the.
going to do that practical? Like, are you going to use EVNG or like something else? Like how? Just wanted to
So
understand.
we'll be setting up our lab, and we'll make sure that we have all these type of components integrated in our cell.
Lab will be gonna be on the EVNG or like.
So we have a PNet lab. So we'll see how we set up then PNet, or we set it on the VMware. So we used to set it on the PNet. We'll see if we can bring the same setup, but this time we want to improvise. So we're just looking into it. But as the initially we won't be covering, since 1 week, for 1 week we'll be covering all the fundamentals, because if we'll start with the investigation, so I think major points will get missed, which many of you will get the questions around when you'll be getting interviewed for SOC.
Okay.
So any more questions for this class?
The last question from my side. Do we have any complete end-to-end curriculum? What exactly gonna cover to this course?
Yes,
Any PDF or any documentation?
actually we already presented it during our inductions.
Yes, yes, Mr. Khalid will share you on your WhatsApp. Don't worry.
Please share it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, and please, Khalid, please don't take it as a single point which is there in the documents, because we'll be covering a whole lot of topics from out of that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome. So Sachin, think we are good for this session.
Yes, it's good to go for today. And tomorrow, guys, we can connect by same time, 9 p.m. for day 2 session, right?
Right. So tomorrow we'll be starting with the network fundamentals, right? And getting in depth about the basics of the things. So, and then we'll be eventually switching up for the SOC fundamentals. So this is how our curriculum be. And then we'll be moving to the advanced level lately. So anybody who is new to this particular domain or the networks domain should have a basic understanding of what we'll be covering. And at the same time, I'll be taking all your doubts if you have related to networks or the firewalls, or related to SOC threat hunting. Uh, And in case you have any questions, please reach out to Sachin and share your questions, and I'll try to answer that questions in the next call, in the starting as well.
Yes, yes. So Wes, by the way, session was very informative, and from my opinion, it was like, really well explained, right? So I hope you all like that, and tomorrow we can connect by same time, 9 p.m. Thank you, guys. Good day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye bye.